Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Abandons Konoha and Becomes the Dragon Sage, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Land of Lightning, Kumo no Sato, Reikage Tower. Konoha no Sato has been completely destroyed, he declared to the room. What? Naruto asked in surprise. We just received word from our spies an hour ago, the Reikage explained. They say that Konoha was attacked at the end of the Chunin exams by a combined Suna and Oto invasion force. We're still trying to confirm the village's condition, however. It looks like there was another force at play during the battle. Another force? Yugito inquired. From what we were able to piece together, Suna entered the Ichibi Jinchuriki into the exams as a genin who then reached the finals. He was matched up against the young genius Uchiha Sasuke and the invasion began as soon as he started to transform, he continued. A Jinchuriki fought Sasuke team. Naruto blinked. Do you know him? Haku asked. Not really, Naruto shrugged. He was the rookie of the year, and I was the dead last, so we didn't hang out that much. He was always a loner who everyone adored because of his family, though I thought he was an arrogant bastard. Yes, well, from what I am told, he was defeated and captured by Oto during the battle. That's not what worried me though, he sighed and leaned back in his chair. It's what happened at the end of the match itself. Apparently you showed up and stopped him from delivering a lethal blow to the Jinchuriki. Naruto. Me. Naruto took a step back in surprise. But I wasn't anywhere near Konoha during the finals. I've been here training with Ero Sennin and my team. I know that, but the reports clearly state that you entered the battle and defeated anyone that stood in your way. It even describes transformations into a six-tailed chakra fox and a giant black warrior, he concluded. Black. Haku started. Quote. Warrior. Yugito finished. Yami. Naruto growled out and clenched his fists at his side. It appears your shadow has turned out quite mellow, Kiribi spoke from the side. That's impossible, he shouldn't be able to use the Kyuubi's chakra if he doesn't have the fox in his gut. He wouldn't stand a chance against Konoha by himself, Naruto started. It looks like he was able to retain a large amount of the Kyuubi's chakra cells from a pseudo Jinchuriki at the Fire Temple, after single-handedly breaking through the temple's defenses, he explained. How strong has he gotten? Yugito asked worriedly. I don't know. But by your own accounts he can steal bloodlines, the Reikage said grimly. There is little doubt in my mind that he is growing in power and it is only a matter of time before he attains his true goal, whatever it might be. So what do we do? Haku asked the question. Jiraiya Dono has already left for the ruins of Konoha in hopes of gathering survivors and I have already sent teams to render humanitarian aid. I also have another mission for you, he responded and handed him a sheet of paper with the details on it. Sabaku no Gaara, the Ichibi Jinchuriki has gone rogue and is currently hunting the Sannin. We're not really sure why. Your orders are to locate and capture him if possible. If you are unable to capture him, then you are to eliminate him, understand? Understood Reikage-sama, Haku bowed. With Konoha destroyed, we are now the strongest of the 4 main villages, he declared. This action has upset the entire continent and soon war will break out for dominance. Do not let anyone gain control of the Ichibi. I'm going with them, Kiribi spoke up. What are we waiting for? Let's go already, Yugito waved as she headed for the door with Haku in tow. Naruto stopped as he exited the room and looked out at the setting sun in the distance. Yami. You're worried? Haku said to the blonde kunoichi that shared the room. They had stopped for the night in a nearby town and gotten 2 separate rooms for themselves with Naruto taking the other one. What do you mean? Yugito asked confused. You've been sneaking glances at Naruto all day, Haku continued. I can't really blame you since from the look on his face I'd say he is having trouble coming to terms with the destruction of his former home. Quote. But it's not his home anymore, Yugito spoke up. Konoha has never done anything to even deserve to be called his home. He owes them nothing for what they've done. How so? Haku inquired. They didn't tell him about his father, they didn't tell him why he was hated and they didn't even have the decency to at least properly train him. They wanted nothing to do with him and as far as I'm concerned they got what they deserve. Have you seen him when he walks through the streets of Kumo? Everyone in Kumo loves him not only because of his strength but what he stands for. Yugito clenched her fists at her side as she kept going. And what about you? Haku questioned. What about me? Yugito snapped her head towards her teammate. I've seen the way you look at him, Yugito-chan, Haku replied knowingly. That look of longing in your eyes when you look at him can't be faked or hidden, especially from me. I don't know what you are talking about, Yugito denied and turned away. I think you do, Haku shot back. That look of longing, what is it about exactly? Do you long to get the same praise as him or do you long just for him? What do you want, Yugito-chan? Drop it, Yugito snarled at her with slitted eyes. Quote. Fine, Haku sighed. But let me give you some advice. Right now he is alright, but that won't last forever. Someday he will be lost and just drift through life. When that day comes, I hope you are ready to do something about it, because I'm sure we will all regret it if you aren't. Why do you care so much? Yugito questioned. Because I'm in love with him, Haku whispered the answer as she turned away. Is she? Of course she is. Naruto's went out of his way to make her feel welcome here and after the wave mission. But what do I feel for him? Yugito thought as she cast a look at the door. Land of Fire, Tanzaku Town. I still think we should have taken the airship, Yugito whined as they entered the town. The eggheads are still working on the technology involved in it, Yugito-chan, Haku countered. What's wrong with this picture? Naruto asked as he looked around at the empty marketplace. Where is everyone? Haku asked, also confused. Yugito closed her eyes and concentrated. They're all in their homes, but I'm sensing large amounts of heavy chakra concentration coming from the north. Sounds like a battle, Haku nodded as Naruto jumped onto the roof of a nearby building and looked towards the north. Well, whoever it is looks to be going it pretty heavily, Naruto added as he saw the flashes on the horizon signifying the use of explosives. Let's go check it and we'll interfere a bit, Kiribi said as he jumped forward with the rest of the team not too far behind. This wasn't turning out like he had planned at all, and that was something he didn't like happening. It had started with the fall of Konoha, which left Orochimaru's arms useless, but the village and the Hokage wiped out. Almost immediately upon returning to Otokuga no Sato, Orochimaru had left his body and taken over Uchiha Sasuke in order to acquire the legendary Sharingan. This action, however, had one very notable flaw in it. He could only maintain this body for 3 years before it failed. That was the reason why he was out here now. It was to locate his old teammate, whom was and still remains to this day the best medic nin to have ever lived. His right-hand man Kabuto could only do so much compared to Senju Tsunade, granddaughter of the Shodai Hokage and the current Katsuyu Sennin. The deal was simple enough. She fixed his body so it could last a lifetime and he would resurrect her lover and her brother, whom both died back in the Second Shinobi War. He had given her a week to answer, and that brings us to the current, irritating situation. The Ichibi Jinchuriki, Sabaku no Gaara, whom practically destroyed Konoha single-handedly, was now hunting for strong opponents to prove his existence, or so he said. The boy had the audacity to come after him and by proxy Tsunade in the hopes of killing them. Naturally, Orochimaru didn't like that and knew that he could kill the boy with ease, but that would be useless if Tsunade and her annoying fear of blood gets her killed. Where would he be then? 3 years is not enough time to properly wield these magnificent eyes that the Uchiha prided, but he knew if Tsunade were to die, then that would be the end of the Sharingan altogether. The only other option would be to go to Danzo, but Root was still operating, so he couldn't risk any kind of contact at the moment, at least not until he gained more power. You will prove my existence, Gaara said, crazed as he summoned a massive waterfall of sand. Yusa Bakuryu, he called out as the sand closed in. Stand back, Kabuto, Kimimaro, Orochimaru ordered with a smirk. He then jumped over the waterfall of sand and spun the Kusanagi in hand. Die, you annoying child, he shouted as he swung down with the sword. Clang. Land of Fire, Plains. Silence is a grand thing, really. It's empty and hollow, yet anything can happen to break it. Like now, for example, where Orochimaru of the Sannin, self-proclaimed Otokage of Otokuga no Sato, stood with the blade of Kusanagi in hand, clashing against one of Yotsuki Kiribi's, the Hachibi Jinchuriki's many swords. The sight was unexpected, and it took all those involved a few moments to register what exactly happened. A second later, Orochimaru backed off and scowled. Yotsuki Kiribi. What's someone like you doing here? Just floating around, seeing as there are snakes like you abound, Kiribi countered, settled into his multiple sword kenjutsu stance. So I see. You must be here for the Ichibi, Orochimaru quickly deduced. Kumo always did want more Biju to bolster their forces. Not that it matters since I want that Biju to die with its Jinchuriki. That way Akatsuki can't complete the goal and I don't have to worry about their interference. I'll handle the Jinchuriki, Naruto said over his shoulder as he kept his eyes locked with Gaara's. Are you sure, kiddo? He might be too much for you, Naruto, Kiribi asked the blonde boy. Just give me my shot and I'll do the rest, Naruto replied with a grin. The bone guy is mine, Yugito said clearly as she glared at the man in front of her with bones emanating from everywhere on his body. And that leaves the one with glasses for me, Haku concluded. Fine then, let's see how you handle this, Orochimaru sneered as he bit his thumb. He formed several hand seals and slammed his hand to the ground. Suddenly a large snake appeared in a puff of smoke, Kuchio's no jutsu. Orochimaru, you know better than to summon me. I demand 100 sacrifices for this, Manda sneered up at the heavy senin. Orochimaru just smirked and narrowed his eyes at the Kumo nins. Naruto, Yugito said as she looked up at the large snake. I know, Naruto said back as he bit his thumb and formed a set of hand seals. Kuchio's no jutsu. Smoke exploded from his position as he slapped his hand on the ground. What? Orochimaru blinked in surprise. This isn't how things were supposed to happen. The QB brat is supposed to be a weak fool. He snarled in thought as a large dragon emerged from the smoke. Hello again, Hotori-sama, Naruto said with a smile. It's good to see you again, he greeted. I see you're having a few problems, huh, Naruto? Asked the dragon boss. Yeah, I am. Do you mind giving me a hand here? We could really do with the help, Naruto asked him. Alright. It's been a while since I last fought anyway. I just hope this will be enough to keep me entertained. Hotori chuckled and settled down on all fours. Naruto jumped off his head as he started to roar at the snake boss in front of him. Manda struck first, moving faster than most could see despite its immense size and descended on the dragon. Hotori shifted slightly and swatted the giant snake away just before he grabbed its tail. Hotori roared again as he pulled on the tail and flung the snake into the air. Awesome, Naruto thought awestruck as Hotori flapped his wings and ascended into the air. Raiten, Kichoi Taifu. Hotori roared as wind and lightning exploded from his wings into the shape of a directed tornado. Still as arrogant as ever, I see Hotori team. Manda shouted as the jutsu struck him dead center. Yusa Bakuryu. Gaara called out as a massive wave of sand descended on the Kumo and Oto nins. Scatter. Yugito shouted and everyone jump away. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto exclaimed as he touched back down on solid ground and created an army of clones. Take Gaara down now. He yelled the order to his clones. Not so fast, boy. Orochimaru shouted as he jumped at the blonde boy. Your opponent is me. The Hachibi. Kiribi quickly moved in between them and parried the sword strike at Naruto. Out of my way, you fool. Orochimaru snarled in anger as he quickly executed 3 consecutive strikes at the Kumo swordsman, each of which was parried. That's full Sama to you. Kiribi shouted back as he quickly unsheathed his 7 swords and attacked. Nearby Yugito was throwing balls of lightning left, right and center in hopes of hitting her bone-wielding opponent. Reikyu, she exclaimed again as she hurled another one only for Kimimaro to evade once again. Teshi Senden, Kimimaro said as he launched several sharp bones at the blonde girl. That's just gross, Yugito said in disgust as she dodged the volley. I care not for what you say, Kimimaro said before he lunged with bones stretching out of his skin. This isn't going to be easy, Yugito though grimly as he closed in and blue, purple chakra exploded from her body. Sooner Shiga, Gaara spoke as he brought his sand up beside him and launched it at Naruto's clones. The clones quickly dispelled under the assault of the hundreds of sand bullets that bombarded them. Naruto quickly released red chakra into his system and disappeared in a burst of speed. Gaara blinked in surprise as Naruto reappeared behind him and threw a punch faster than most could see. Sand gathered and the punch collided with it, but the sand evidently withstood it. Naruto backed off as another wave of sand tried to grab him before he disappeared in a burst of speed yet again as Gaara narrowed his eyes. His sand encases his entire body and it gathers wherever he is about to be attacked to defend him. He's not controlling it, Naruto thought as he attacked from the side, but again the sand appeared to defend against him. Well then, let's see how he likes this. Just as the thought crossed his mind, he accelerated and literally ran circles around Gaara at high speed to create a dust storm. After a few more seconds he struck, first kicking low, then punching high, a quick jab at the back, a kick from the side and a blow at the head. Gaara's sand wasn't able to keep up with the constant movement, thus the final punch struck Gaara in the jaw, sending him spinning across the field. Got ya, you damned raccoon. Naruto shouted with a laugh. You hit me. Gaara said lowly as he slowly stood. Now what? Naruto asked as he suddenly tensed. No one has ever laid a hand on me in a long time, Gaara said as he looked up, a crazed smile on his face. Sand spiraled around him, wrapping around him and encasing him in a sphere of sand. Oh, this cannot be good, Naruto muttered as he shot forward and threw a punch at the ball. Spikes of sand appeared from the ball, trying to impale him, but he quickly backed off after landing the punch on the completely solid and dense ball of sand. I will prove my existence, he heard Gaara's twisted voice speak from the ball. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto made a cross seal and a clone instantly appeared at his side. The concentrated chakra into Naruto's hand as it quickly spun and took the shape of a ball. The clone disappeared a moment later as Naruto dashed forward and threw his arm out at the sphere. Rasengan. The chakra sphere slammed into the sand ball and drilled through its layers until it reached its target. The other side of the sand ball exploded outwards as both Naruto and Gaara were hurled away from each other. They quickly recovered as sand once again wrapped around Gaara, but this time taking the shape of a human-sized tanuki made of sand. This is my blood. Gaara screamed in pain as he clutched his healing shoulder. Suna Shuriken, he exclaimed in anger as he hurled a volley of sand bullets at the blonde boy. Naruto brought his hands up and the sand shattered upon contact with the Kyuubi's chakra. Why won't you just die? Futon, Mugen Daitopper. Gaara continued as he sent a massive blast of wind at him. He's not letting up, Naruto thought as he was sent flying back and into the air. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Suddenly hundreds of clones appeared around him as he landed. Suna Shuriken. Gaara exclaimed as he tried to destroy the oncoming clone army. Bunshin Daibakua. The clones called out as one and exploded all over the area where Gaara stood. Did I get him? Naruto asked in thought. A second later sand exploded upwards and took this shape of a massive sand tanuki, I guess not. Dai Sabaku Q. Gaara roared as sand started to spin around Naruto. Holy Knight Champion of the Ancients, I ask you to grant me power. The power to protect, the power to defend and the power to safeguard the innocent. I call upon you, Duke. Naruto began. Sabaku Soso. The tanuki clenched his fist and the sand contracted to crush the blonde boy. Ascendo. Naruto finished as he suddenly exploded in red light. The light died down a moment later to reveal the large white knight with its red sword and blue shield pulsing with energy. What are you? Gaara demanded. A knight, Naruto responded as his blue cape swayed in the wind. From the side Orochimaru stopped and stared at the large boss-sized juggernaut that had appeared. He isn't the one that attacked Konoha with us, the other one was black yet he has the same face. That chakra I felt was definitely the Kyuubi's, but how is that possible when the other brat wielded the Kyuubi's power also? The heavy Sennin thought puzzled. Come on Sandy-chan, Naruto taunted as he settled into a stance with his shield brought up in front of him, his legs shifted slightly with one in front of the other and crouched down with his sword at his side. Fascinating Uzumaki Naruto. The raccoon hollered as Gaara materialized out of the sand on its head and formed a hand seal. Tanuki Neri no Jutsu, Gaara whispered before he fell unconscious. Ha 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 ha, I'm free. Shukaku laughed as he gained full control. Hotori-sama, what the hell just happened? Naruto asked in surprise. The dragon boss dropped down at his side and spoke. He surrendered control to the demon within. The human is gone, only the monster remains. There is nothing you can do for him now, Hotori answered. Quote. Damn it, Naruto gritted out as Shukaku took notice of him. There's already someone here to play with me. Good. Now prepare to die. The demon laughed, clearly insane. Do not forget about me, Hotori team. Manda snarled as he sprung up from the ground. A moment later Hotori shot up into the air just before the snake could reach him. Damn you, get down here and fight. Futon, Renkuden. Shukaku exclaimed as he belched out a large blast of compressed air. Raiten, Feinaru Hajimento. Naruto countered as he leveled his sword at the demon. A blast of energy erupted from the end of the blade and collided with the air bullet. Despite having the elemental advantage, the wind bullet exploded under the sustained discharge of the lightning bolt. Die. Futon, Renkuden. Shukaku exclaimed as he expelled another 4 wind blasts at the White Knight. Naruto quickly brought up his shield and charged it with as much chakra as he could muster. Raiten, Feinaruyushin, he called out as the compressed blast of pure lightning erupted from the center of the shield and collided with the oncoming assault. 3 of the approaching air bullets exploded, but 1 managed to get through just as lightning blast died down. The 4th and final air bullet slammed into the shield of the White Knight, exploding with enough to shatter the landscape around him. Naruto was thrown back and fell to the ground with an echoing thud, his shield landing a few feet away covered in smoke. Damn, the White Knight grumbled in thought as he slowly stood. Even though my shield took the brunt of that last attack, that still hurt like hell. You're still alive. Persistent, aren't you? Shukaku laughed with a crazed look. I can't win against something like this, Naruto thought as Shukaku sucked in more air. Do not give up. Futon, Renkuden, Shukaku exclaimed as he unleashed another 3 blasts of wind at the White Knight. My power is your power and your power is mine, now fight boy. Raiten, Kaminari no Tate, Naruto's eyes turned white as the 3 bullets struck him in the chest, resulting in several large explosions of wind. Naruto, Yugito shouted in worry as everyone on the battlefield stopped. Ha 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 ha, I did it. He's dead. Shukaku laughed at seeing his work. His laughter didn't last long. Raiten, Jinrai, Shukaku's right arm seemed to have been sliced right off by a blast of lightning that shot out from the smoke-covered area where Naruto once stood. What? Shukaku shouted in outrage as the smoke cleared. Naruto stood where he had been hit by the wind bullets earlier, appearing completely unharmed, and he now lightning chakra dancing across his armored body. His eyes were glowing white as sparks of lightning shot between himself and the ground where he stood. I haven't felt this since him. I won't be defeated so easily by the likes of you. Futon, Renkuden, Shukaku roared into action as he unleashed another 4 wind bullets at the knight. I've had enough of you, demon, Naruto said in a far more dangerous tone than normal. He brought his sword up and swung down. Raiten, Kaminari no Tate, he said, and the lightning that covered his body sprang out and swatted the wind bullets away effortlessly. Damn you! The tanuki shouted in outrage at seeing his most powerful attack deflected with ease. He then watched in what amounted to demon equivalent of fear as the knight began to charge chakra into his free hand. No. Raiten, Hyakurai, Naruto exclaimed as he brought his hand up towards the tanuki and a massive blast of lightning exploded into existence. It struck the area where Shukaku stood and suddenly the world around them was covered in light. A moment later it was over. What the hell was that? Haku rasped out as climbed back to her feet. That brat, Orochimaru muttered in anger and a little fear. So Duke, you have already merged with the boy, I see. He must be something special for you both to bond so quickly. But it is only a matter of time before the darkness emerges. Will you be ready for when it comes, Naruto? Hotori mused in thought. That was the largest lightning jutsu I've ever seen, Kiribi stated in surprise. His progression rate is unreal, but what is wrong with this deal? His abilities and skill have improved greatly, but is all of this because of his enemy? Naruto, Yugito thought worriedly as the dust slowly cleared. The White Knight stood tall as he glared hard at the crater where the sand demon lay still. Shukaku seemed to be struggling to hold his form together, however it quickly became clear to everyone that it was a losing struggle. Soon the sand collapsed completely and Gaara emerged on the ground below with the eyes of the tanuki. A flash of light signaled Naruto returning to human form and start his slow approach to the fallen Ichibi Jinchuriki. You will not win, boy. Shukaku shouted, clearly still in control of his Jinchuriki. Sooner Shiga. A volley of sand bolts shot towards the approaching blonde a moment later. Naruto swung up with the Raijin and the sand shattered into specks around him. He kept moving with his eyes glowing white and the sword in his hand glowing a dangerous crimson. Shukaku watched in both anger and fear as Naruto stopped directly in front of him and leveled the Raijin at him. You've lost, demon, Naruto said simply as he sheathed his sword and formed several hand seals. Fuinjutsu, Reimu Fuin, he held out his hand in front of him and a spears of lightning appeared. No. Shukaku roared in outrage as he quickly stood and lunged at the blonde. He was met by the lightning spear striking his gut and the chakra lancing out to pin his arms and legs along with his sand tail. Shukaku's eyes distorted and Gaara's returned to normal. Gaara dropped a moment later. He was unconscious. Finally, Naruto sighed in relief. The jutsu he had used was a seal that restrained the demon within its target and locked it in a time dilation field. This particular jutsu has been taught to him by the dragons after he had read the specifics of it from the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing. Apparently the jutsu was created by the Uzumaki clan prior to the destruction of their home and subsequent escape from the former land of Whirlpool. Through all of this, one thing was made clear to him. This battle was far from over. Land of fire, plains. That brat he's too dangerous to be left alive, Orochimaru said before he jumped towards the weakened Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Not so fast, ya fool. Kiribi shouted as he pursued. Ha! Naruto turned just in time to see Orochimaru descend on him with the Kusanagi in hand. I cannot allow you interfere with my plans. Die boy! The heavy Sennin roared as he slashed down. Clang! Naruto looked up and his eyes widened at seeing Senju Tsunade standing between them holding up the Kubikiri Hoko. He turned his attention to Haku only to see her standing over the beaten corpse of Yakushi Kabuto. What are you doing, Tsunade? Orochimaru demanded angrily as he pushed the Kusanagi down harder on the irritant defender. Tsunade said as she held the Kusanagi by the blade. I refuse your offer. I won't betray Dan or Nawaki by siding with the likes of you. Stupid girl, I could have brought them back to you, Orochimaru sneered. How disappointing, Tsunade. If you won't help me, then I'll simply find another way. He pulled back and then spun as he swung the sword. Die, Tsunade, he shouted as he made to cleave her in half. Clang! Two swords struck down with Kiribi pushing his weight down to keep them locked in place even as Orochimaru put his full force behind the swing. You should watch your back, ya fool, Kiribi warned. Anger flashed in Orochimaru's eyes as he pulled back and unleashed a number of snakes at him, Sene Tajishu. Kiribi unsheathed all of his swords and cut down the approaching snakes. A second later Tsunade appeared above Orochimaru and swung her leg down in a wide arc. The heavy Sennin narrowly evaded the attack as it struck down on the ground in front of him. Tsutenkyaku! Tsunade exclaimed and was soon followed by an explosion of smoke and dust. Take that, you bloody snake! She shouted as the dust cleared. Orochimaru lay still for a moment before his head turned to the side and his mouth opened. A hand soon emerged from the mouth, soon followed by a head and some shoulders. Finally a chest, stomach and legs emerged and stood up to smile at them. That is disgusting, Tsunade commented. I am immortal, Tsunade, Orochimaru sneered at her. You're not immortal enough, Kiribi rapped back as crimson chakra exploded from his body and engulfed him. What? The heavy Sennin took a step back in surprise. The chakra condensed and took the shape of a human-sized ox with 8 tails. Kiribi roared into action as he shot forward at blinding speed, appearing before the snake Sannin in an instant. Orochimaru's eyes widened slightly as Kiribi raised his arm to clothesline him when he was within range. Lariat! Kiribi exclaimed as he struck. Orochimaru's insides were blown out as the corrosive chakra slammed into his ribs and severed his upper and lower bodies in a single attack. Kiribi came to a stop a few feet behind the snake Sannin as the two halves expelled snakes from the severed tissue and pulled him back together again. This is the strength of the strongest Jinchuriki him. Kakukaku. Well, if that's the best he's got, then I've already won. My Sharingan will predict them both and use their own strength against them. I am truly immortal now, Orochimaru thought with glee as he turned and Sharingan spun wildly. Get ready for the ox, cause once I'm through with you, you won't even be able to fit in a box. Kiribi's voice roared as his skin started to rip apart. Yamata no Jutsu! Orochimaru exclaimed quickly as his form exploded into the shape of a massive snake with 8 heads. A few seconds later a giant ox with 8 tails, tentacles appeared and roared at the snake. Now look upon me, the Rockin' Hachibi. Whoa! Kiribi-sensei is. Haku whispered in awe as she stood over the now deceased body of Kabuto with her sword slung over her shoulder. Come here, I'll turn you into a smear. Kiribi roared as he grabbed one of the heads and wrapped his tails, tentacles around another 3 heads. He ripped them off the snake in one swift motion. I will kill you with the power of my Biju. Damn you! Orochimaru hissed as 3 heads bit into the Hachibi's neck and shoulders. Back off before you make me barf. Kiribi shouted and knocked the 4-headed snake away. I have to escape or I'll surely be killed, Orochimaru thought as he quickly turned to flee. He returned to his human form and slithered away. I must escape now. Yo, I'm not letting ya escape this late in the game, ya fool, Kiribi said as he started charging a ball of chakra at his mouth. Hachibiju Imari. The ball exploded at the heavy Sennin in a brilliant blast of energy. Kuchios, Sanju Rashomon. Orochimaru exclaimed as he slammed his hands down on the ground. Summoning seals appeared on the ground and 3 large demonic gates appeared between the 2 combatants just as the blast washed over his location. When the blast died down, Orochimaru started sinking into the ground in order to escape as Tsunade appeared behind him and punched him squarely in the jaw. "You won't escape," Tsunade shouted as she grabbed him by the neck and squeezed. "Have mercy, Tsunade," Orochimaru begged. "You'll get none from me, Orochimaru," Tsunade responded as seals formed on her arm and slowly started to move onto Orochimaru's form. The snake Sannin gasped in pain as the seals injected the deadliest poisons into him, rivaling those of Sasori. He was dead within moments. On the other side of the battlefield, Yugito crashed down into the side of a cliff overlooking a small lake. She shook herself as Kimimaro approached with bones protruding from every corner of his body. "Reikyu," Yugito exclaimed as she hurled the lightning ball at the Otojonin only for him to swat it away. "Your jutsu are useless against my bloodline," Kimimaro said clearly as he stopped a few feet away. "Shut up," Yugito shouted in anger as blue, purple chakra exploded from her form and took the shape of a cat with 1 chakra tail. "Interesting," Kimimaro mused as she disappeared in a burst of speed and reappeared above him. "Karamatsu no Mai," he exclaimed as bones branched out from his skin. "Keizuki," Yugito roared as her arm ignited in a layer of compressed fire. She cut through the bones and slashed across the Otonin's chest. He jumped away and blinked in surprise at the wound. "This girl, she cut right through my bones as if they were nothing. What is that jutsu she's using?" he asked in thought. "Teshi Senden," he raised his hands and bones shot out of the fingers towards the cat-like girl. Yugito brought her arm to the side and then swatted the projectiles away with ease to his surprise. "She's a close-range fighter, so as long as I keep my distance her body will eventually succumb to the strain of using that power she has," he concluded. "Hold still," Yugito growled as a ball of flames formed just above her mouth. "Now what is she doing?" Kimimaro thought worriedly. "Nekomata Enden," Yugito exclaimed as the fireball shot forward at impressive speed. "It's too fast to dodge," Kimimaro thought quickly as seals started to spread across his body. "Shi no Juin," he whispered as the fireball engulfed him. It exploded upon contact and echoed across the battlefield as flames and smoke shot up into the sky. "Got you, you little prick," Yugito growled with satisfaction as she examined the smoke-filled crater. "Tesenka no Mai, Itsuru," before she could blink a whip made of bones grabbed her. "What the?" she growled out as the bones held her in place. "Is that his spine?" she thought upon seeing the shape of the bones. "These bones will take a few seconds to burn through," she added as she struggled to free herself. "You're mine now," Kimimaro said as he jumped out of the smoke and towards her. His right hand holding the other end of the bone whip and his left hand now turned into a large spear-like cluster of bones. "Tesenka no Mai, Hana," he exclaimed as he struck. "Nekomata En," Yugito began as the attack hit her. Her break in concentration destabilized her own attack and blew the 2 of them away in opposite directions. Yugito rolled across the ground for a few seconds before coming to a stop at the edge of a cliff. She groaned as she forced herself onto her arms and knees as she felt the Nibi's chakra working fast to heal her wounds. She turned her head and saw Kimimaro approaching slowly as she let the Nibi's chakra fade from her body. "You are indeed a formidable foe, however it is over now," Kimimaro said clearly as he closed in on her. "Arrogant isn't he? But what do you expect from a servant of that disgrace to the snakes?" a female voice asked with cold indifference. "Who said that?" Yugito turned her attention towards the voice but found nothing. Kimimaro stopped a few feet away, confused as to who she was talking to but nevertheless continued his approaching after a moment. "I did," spoke the voice as a snake slithered up next to her side. "What are you? One of Orochimaru's summons?" Yugito questioned. "Please don't insult me," the snake sneered at her. "Now do you want the power to win or not? I can see into your heart, little girl, and I can see a thirst for power rivaled only by your need to prove yourself. Prove yourself to him if I'm not mistaken." "I don't know what you're talking about," Yugito said venomously. "I've had enough of your nervous breakdown," Kimimaro said as he stood over her and readied one of his bones to kill her. "Do you want power or not?" the snake hissed at her. "Yes I do," Yugito said as she eyed the dagger-like bone in Kimimaro's hand. "Then take me into your hand and repeat after me," the snake hissed as Yugito grabbed it. "Ravaging Queen of the Forgotten Land, I ask you to grant me power." The power to govern, the power to lead and the power to choose. I call upon you. Freedom. Ascendo. Yugito shouted as light exploded from her form, blowing Kimimaro away from the column of light. Now what did she do? Kimimaro muttered as he recovered. When the light died down, Yugito's new form was revealed standing unmoving, like a statue against the evening sun. Her armor was emerald green with stripes of gold plating her and 2 silver gauntlets on her hands. Her blue cape waved in the wind as she held out silver sword which Kimimaro recognized as an oversized Kusanagi at her side. Is that the Kusanagi? Impossible. Orochimaru-sama has that blade and it would only be able to choose another master if he were dead. That cannot be. And what is this form she has taken? Kimimaro thought as the new raised her free hand towards him. Yamatatsu no Jutsu, Yugito said calmly as the very earth shook under them. Impossible, Kimimaro rasped out as the earth swallowed him whole. Embrace oblivion, Yugito said as she clenched her outstretched hand and the earth closed up with a loud slam. Sawarabi no Mai. Bones exploded up from the ground all around her, but those that hit her were unable to penetrate her armor. I'm not finished yet, he shouted as his body materialized from one of the bone clusters behind her with a bone spear as his right hand. I have you now, he exclaimed as he attacked. Brainwashed fool, Yugito muttered as she looked over her shoulder. Iwa no Tate. Instantly a barrier of stone appeared between them and stopped the attack dead in its tracks. I've gathered the densest, strongest of the earth to create this defense. Even your calcified bones aren't enough to penetrate it. I am not brainwashed, Kimimaro shouted as he tried to break through the barrier. Yes you are. Tsuchi Shiga, Yugito said as a volley of rocks descended upon him from above, shattering his regenerating bones. She sighed in relief and turned and headed back towards the others. So you'll return to Kumo with us. With Konoha destroyed, I doubt there will be much of a fuss, Kiribi mused. Thank you for the offer, Tsunade nodded her head in gratitude. Why you're doing this, Tsunade-sama? Her aide, Shizune asked her. Because that brat over there could have killed that sand guy but he didn't, Tsunade reasoned. People like him are rare and do whatever it takes to make those close to them happy. Oh, and I almost forgot, she took off her necklace and threw it to Naruto. What's this? Naruto asked as he examined the green crystal. My grandfather's legacy, Tsunade replied with a smile. It's cursed but I want to bet on you to break that curse, so that's why I've given it to you. Thanks, Naruto said, not knowing what to say. Can we go home now? I could really use a shower, Yugito asked as she felt the Kusanagi turn back into a snake and curl around her right arm. Alright, let's go back to Kumo, Kiribi rapped as he turned to leave. As they walked, one thought continued to go through Naruto's mind. There are 5 knights with a 6th being all 5 merged together. So if Yugito is the 4th knight, then who is the 5th? Land of Lightning, Kumogakure no Sato, Breakage Tower. When the team returned to Kumo, Anbu immediately took Gaara to a containment cell for when Naruto's jutsu would wear off. Not that it mattered, since on the way back he had memorized a fuinjutsu that would completely seal off a biju from its jinchuriki, which he had applied as soon as they arrived home. Despite his age, he was very adept at seals, and Kiribi had complimented him on it, though by Jiraiya's standards he was still just a novice. So what's going to happen to him now? Naruto asked the question. He's being returned to Suna. Once there he will no longer be our problem, replied. Why? They hate him? Naruto questioned. He is also a Sunanin and rightly falls under their jurisdiction, the Raikage explained. If we don't hand him over, then it could spark open war, and I'd prefer not to face a 4th Great Shinobi War just yet. We still have the Akatsuki to consider, he added. Quote. Any word from Ero Sennin yet? Naruto inquired after a moment. Yes, he's made contact with the Konoha remnant, he confirmed. They have no allies, and currently there is open war between Suna and Iwa all over the Land of Fire. It's pretty much a land grab now that Konoha's been destroyed and the Fire Daimyo has lost his military power. What do you think they'll do? Yugito asked curiously. Jiraiya Dono will probably rally the survivors of Konoha and try to flee the country. Konoha is gone, and without the Fire Daimyo's support there is little chance of them ever rebuilding it. For now they're nothing more than nomads, he replied. What about Suna and Iwa? Naruto asked. Iwa has always hated Konoha, and your father especially. They're fighting to claim as much land and resources from the Land of Fire as they can get their hands on. Suna on the other hand want compensation for the death of their Yondaime Kazekage and losses during the destruction of Konoha. Kumo has been relatively ignored because we're trying to remain neutral, and because of Konoha's destruction the balance of power has shifted in our favor, so I don't expect him to try anything against us, the Raikage explained. Quote. I see, Naruto nodded in understanding. Will that be all, Raikage-sama? He asked. Quote. That's everything. Dismissed. He gave the order and the three Chunin filed out of the room. They gotten better, but they still have yet to face the true terror, Kiribi rapped as the door closed. Jiraiya Dono was able to locate Yami's next target. It's Takagakure no Sato, he nodded. Why would he go there? To give them a cold stare? Kiribi asked. I don't know. He replied. Quote. What are you going to do? Kiribi asked, for once not rapping. According to Jiraiya, Yami doesn't plan to infiltrate Taki for another 3 days. I want Team B rested up and ready for deployment by tomorrow morning. Get them ready, B, he ordered. Haku had barely gotten out of the room when Yugito grabbed her arm and dragged her away, saying bye to a confused and slightly worried Naruto as they left. After a while the two females of Team B stopped at an empty training platform and Yugito finally let her go. What is this about, Yugito-chan? Haku finally asked. You know what it's about, Yugito responded as she looked away. So you're finally admitting it? That's good, but I'm not the one you should be telling, Haku said simply. And I still want to hear you say it, she added. Quote. I love Naruto, Yugito said finally. It took me a while to realize it, but after seeing how far he would go to save someone from themselves like he did Gaara. I suppose I always knew but chose to ignore it. He's too kind, Haku nodded with a smile. He cares nothing of what someone is, only who someone is. Quote. You love him too, Yugito said as she turned to look at the older girl. So what happens now? She asked bluntly. I don't mind sharing, Haku suggested. I do mind, Yugito countered. Naruto is the last member of the Uzumaki clan of the fallen Uzushigakure no Sato, Haku stated. In order to re-establish the clan he will have more than one child, and having 2 wives will help to reach that goal. Quote. I know what the Clan Restoration Act is, Yugito gritted out as she turned away, her face now red. I am a member of the Yotsuki clan. But that law hasn't been used in years, not since the Second War. I have no clan, Yugito-chan, Haku admitted sadly. In Kiri Kekkei Genkai were considered subhuman and everyone tried to wipe them out. When my father found out that both my mother and I had a Kekkei Genkai, he tried to kill us. He killed my mother and tried to kill me. I ended up killing him with my Kekkei Genkai. And then Zabuza-sama came and rescued me. Since Zabuza-sama was killed, all I have ever wanted was a family again, and I want you and Naruto to be that family. Haku-chan. Yugito muttered as her fists clenched at her side. Alright, she sighed. We'll find some way to make it work, we have to, she finished. Haku smiled at that and said, I'm sure we will. Hey, maybe the Kyuubi's regeneration and rate of recovery extends to other activities as well. Yugito blushed at that. You've been spending too much time around that perverted Sannin. Right, according to Kiribi-sensei my elemental affinity is wind, and he's already taught me how to augment my swords with it like he does with the lightning element. I wonder if I can augment the Rasengan with wind instead of my swords, Naruto thought as he made a hand seal. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Instantly hundreds of clones appeared on the training platform. Alright, I want you pair up and see what you can do with it, he ordered, and the clones split into pairs. Approximately 9 minutes and 18 seconds later he disappeared in a puff of smoke, surprising the assembled clones. Hey, where'd the boss go? One clone asked. Hell if I know, another responded. Whatever. I'm going to go prank the village. The first clone shrugged and jumped off the platform, heading back towards the main village. Boss is not going to be happy about that, the second clone commented before he turned back to the task at hand. Land of Lightning, Cloud Peak. Cloud Peak was the mountain which towered over all the rest in the area. It was even larger than the mountain Kumo was located on and spent most of its time covered in snow and ice. This mountain was also home to all the dragons in the elemental countries, and few dared to try and travel up it. In fact, the last human to ever do so was the Sandaime Raikage during the days following the start of the Second Great Shinobi War. Gyaku Kuchio's no jutsu, Miyaka called as she slapped her claw down on the ground and Naruto appeared in an explosion of smoke. What the hell was that? Naruto exclaimed, startled. Sorry, Miyaka apologized, a little embarrassed. Were you busy? She asked innocently. Why do I get the feeling this isn't a social call? Naruto questioned. Because it's not, Hotori spoke as he appeared from behind the cliff edge. Are you well? The dragon boss inquired. It's freezing, Naruto shot back. Hotori let out a low chuckle at that. Yes, well, you humans don't have a natural resistance to cold weather like we do. This is actually quite pleasant for us. It's not exactly what I would call a tropical paradise, Naruto commented as he shivered, trying to stay warm. You should see it during the winter, Miyaka quipped from the side and Naruto groaned. Enough of this, Hotori spoke before turning away. Come with me. I am taking you to meet the elder, the dragon boss ordered as he started away towards the large cavern entrance nearby. Who's this elder you're talking about? Naruto inquired as he followed close behind. He is the oldest and most revered of all dragons in the tribes. Siru-sama, Hotori answered. Siru was by far the oldest dragon in the entire known world, his age and knowledge going back all the way to before even the Rikudo Sennin had been born. He had fought in the demon wars and had proven himself without equal on multiple occasions. He had even fought alone against the Juubi for a time, but he was ultimately overwhelmed before the arrival of the Rikudo Sennin himself. Since then he had unified the dragon tribes and led the dragon race for millennia before settling down on Cloud Peak. His late soulmate had hollowed out the entire mountain 3 years prior to her death and the tribes had turned it into their home. He had stepped down from boss status after his mate died and mourned her passing. His nephew and heir, Hotori, had become the boss of the tribes after he had stepped down. Siru had given advice when asked but chose to stay out of the affairs of the tribes, preferring to watch over them as they continued to grow even as he approached the end of his life. It wasn't normal for him to give an order to anyone or use his authority at all. That had changed today. Siru had come straight to the central chamber and spoke to his nephew directly. The order was simple: bring Uzumaki Naruto to him immediately, alone and unharmed. Naturally, since he hadn't used his authority since before the founding to the ninja villages, this had set off numerous alarm bells through the dragon tribes. Siru had then returned to his home, a large throne room near the bottom of the cavern, and waited as Hotori personally went to summon the boy. He had finally arrived soon after. Siru-sama, Hotori spoke and lowered his head in respect. Uzumaki Naruto, as you had requested. He gestured his head towards the blonde human at his side. You have my thanks, nephew. Siru bowed his head in acknowledgement. Would you remain outside while I have a little chat with the boy? It was phrased as a question, but the two dragons knew it was an order and they quickly left the room. Naruto was nervous but held his ground as he turned his focus completely on the large and seemingly powerful dragon elder in front of him. Siru was large even by dragon standards, at least 3 times the size of Hotori, and looked a hell of a lot meaner too. Quicker than most could blink, the dragon's tail whipped out and struck Naruto in the side. The blonde boy crashed into the nearby wall with a yelp as the thud from the impact echoed through the large chamber. Fire exploded from Siru's throat a moment later and washed over the Uzumaki air a moment later. Suddenly a red light exploded from the flames and a single figure lunged at the dragon elder, one he recognized instantly. It was the White Knight. Naruto brought the Ryujin down on the dragon elder only for Siru to swatted the blade away with pure chakra and slam his full body weight into the White Knight. Naruto skidded to a halt a few feet away and crouched down, his shield raised and his sword at his side. So even though you have that blade, you are still unable to use its full powers yet, Siru mused. What the hell is going on? Why did you just attack me? Naruto demanded. I wanted to test how much of Duke's power you can control, Siru replied as his wings fanned out and then retracted again. You are able to assume Duke's form, however you are unable to use your primary abilities, as demonstrated by the fact that I easily swatted the Ryujin away from me. What the hell are you talking about? Naruto questioned angrily. Duke is the Ryujin and you fused together into one being. Just the same as Crusader is your shadow self and the Onijin fused together into one being. The only difference between you is he has full access to the Onijin's true capabilities, Siru explained. Yami is, Naruto started. Able to steal the power of others because he has none himself. He is a shadow, less than human, and a creature that is not truly alive until he kills you. Didn't you find it strange that he could steal human bloodlines while you can't? It's the Onigen's special power, Siru interrupted. The Raijin, however, is still relatively locked even though you are able to take that form. You are here today because I believe you are the one who can release its full capabilities. Why me? Why did you give the Raijin to me? It's caused me nothing but trouble since I got it. Naruto shouted in anger. Would you rather I had given it to someone else? Maybe that Sasuke fellow from your academy days. Of course not, boy. You have been chosen by fate to change this world. You are destiny's pawn and the one who will bring a revolution to this world. Had we not given you the Raijin, then the world could go down an even darker path than it already is. Siru snarled back. Alright, then what do I do? You said that the Raijin's true power is sealed, right? How do I unlock it? Naruto asked after a moment. That, my dear boy, is why I have summoned you, Siru said with what seemed like a dragon's version of a grin. Power down and we may begin, he ordered, and Naruto reluctantly returned to human form. Now step into the center of the circle on the floor. Naruto quickly moved into position at the center of the seal matrix on the floor of the chamber. What is this exactly? Naruto inquired as the seals lit up. The necklace around his neck started to glow a moment later as his skin started to darken and he let out a silent scream as his muscles convulsed. Chains of chakra exploded from his body and struck 10 different locations on the floor as his hair turned crimson. 10 rings exploded from the floor and placed themselves on Naruto's fingers, each one fitting perfectly and glowing green. The chakra chains retracted into him and the light started to die down a moment later. What just happened? Naruto asked, confused. You have ascended, Siru said simply before he explained. There have been many Rasengan, but never before has there been a Rasengan that has mastered the Raijin. Not since the Rikudo Sennin himself, and even then only on a technicality. So I can use the Raijin to its fullest now? Naruto asked. Unlike the Onigen, which absorbs and copies power from external sources, the Raijin fuses directly with the wielder and grants them 3 very dangerous abilities. The first is increased physical strength beyond that of any normal man. The second is an increased control of energy to an inhuman degree, and the last but certainly not least is the ability to supercharge your body with chakra for a limited time. These 3 together make you a very dangerous opponent, Siru explained. Naturally your coils will be strained every time you use that burst mode, but the QB should be able to repair the damage in under a minute even on the battlefield. Okay, what are the rings for then? Naruto asked as he examined the rings on his fingers. Those are the rings of ascension, Siru answered. They will help you focus your burst mode and QB's power up to a certain point. Certain point? Naruto asked. 3 tails, maximum, Siru concluded. Alright, Naruto said finally. We are done here, Siru spoke with a hint of stone in his voice. Make no mistake, Uzumaki, you are the child of prophecy and you will bring about a revolution the likes of which this world hasn't seen since the days of the Rikudo Sennin. I pray you are ready for when your destiny catches up with you. For I fear that we will all pay the price if you are not. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.